Today is the 4th December 2016, and this is the regular religious service and the also Buddha Vihara Singapore that we have every Sunday morning from 9:30 to 11. We have chanting, which is according to this book, and Dhamma talk and meditation practice that will lead to lunch. For the second Sunday of the month, that is every month, the program goes on the whole day until 5 p.m. in the evening. That is one day meditation retreat. At the also Buddha Vihara in the United Kingdom, the second Sunday of the month has been extended to the whole weekend, that is the whole second weekend of the month. We have a weekend retreat from 9 in the morning to 5 in the evening. This has been going on for the last 14 years in Britain, and the last 8+ years in Singapore. We also do have a similar program in Kuala Lumpur, in our branch over there. And today I'd like to speak about one part of our chanting in the English version, that is page 32. So if you can look at the chanting on page 32. This is a very important tradition in the whole Buddhist communities all over the world. We may say, we may express differently. Sometimes we may say that in Pali, in Myanmar people may say that in Burmese, in Shan, in Mon, in Bao, in Ta'ang, in their languages. But the meaning is the same. The intention is the same. This is a very beautiful custom, a very beautiful traditional custom. In Burmese, in other languages, sometimes they begin with the word AwKarTha. Actually, the Burmese Buddhists and the Shan Buddhists, the Mon Buddhists, the Bao, and the Am, and other Buddhists in Myanmar would begin any religious ceremony, any Buddhist ceremony with this AwKarTha. This is about asking for forgiveness, because forgiveness is very important. Unless we can forgive ourselves and we can forgive others, it's not possible to move on. Instead of moving on, we carry the injury, the psychological damage with us. The psychological damage can occur anytime, because the world is full of unmindful people without mindfulness. Is all over the places, including ourselves. We have we spend more time without mindfulness than with mindfulness, even though we are practitioners. No need to say who have never been in touch with the mindfulness practice. That is why on daily basis we are bound to make mistakes, to say something silly that we regret, to think something that hurts ourselves and other people. For example, if we are jealous of other people, first we hurt ourselves. If we get angry, we hurt ourselves first. So this tradition is very important, and not just for spiritual practice, but also for psychological benefit. In terms of psychology, without this practice, as a person we can move on. Instead of moving on, we can start in the past. We live in the past. We lose out what the present moment offers to us, all the opportunity, because we are stuck in the past. Sometimes as an individual, sometimes as a family, sometimes as a group of people, sometimes as a nationality, sometimes as a nation. People do get stuck in the past. They carry fear with them, anger with them. So the Buddha has made non-violence and forgiveness as the central theme of his teaching. Samma Sankappa. The second factor in the Noble Eightfold Path is about non-violence and forgiveness. In order to arrive at the violence and forgiveness, the two qualities, we need to have the right opinion, the right attitude. That is to look at the world as full of mistakes, full of imperfection in ourselves and other people. We all are prone to mistakes. And the Buddha uses one word that captures all of this. He uses the word dukkha. Dukkha is never satisfactory. Life is never satisfactory. Some people, before they have money, they work very hard. When they become rich, they have everything, a secure social position, but then they still find something missing in their heart. Some people think something that's missing must be in a beer can, so they open a beer can and drink beer. They drink all of it up, but still couldn't find what they are looking for. Some people think that what is missing in their heart may be in food, so they indulge themselves in food. Some people in gambling. Some people just spend a lot of time, touching the iPhone and getting stuck, getting glued to the iPhone or iPad, running after the fleeting information on Facebook. But still, Facebook cannot give you something that is totally satisfying. So basically, we have to accept that the world is not satisfactory. What the Buddha is saying that we should stop looking for something satisfying. Instead, work with something that is bothering us here, that is imperfect. imperfect, that is considered to be shortcoming. When we look at this, when we look at the troubling mind inside, the yearning heart inside, when we can accept imperfection, when we can accept shortcoming in ourselves and other people, then our heart will find peace. Because our heart and mind will no longer fight with imperfection, with shortcoming, like that. Remember how much time we spend regretting what we do and lamenting what we haven't achieved, thinking about what we have not achieved, what we have not been, instead of focusing on what we are, what we have achieved, the good things that we have, all the good things that we have done. So usually what we see in the world is that not only that the world is imperfect, in the imperfect world we keep looking for something perfect. So we always contradict with reality. We contradict with this. We contradict with reality. I have seen some students, meaning they are very idealist. They're idealist, they go after ideal. And at that age, that's what happened to all of us. It has happened to me, it has happened to my friend, or the people I know, and it's still happening to all the young people that I have come across. A little girl was complaining to her parents because out of 100, in the school, out of 100 she only scored 97. So she keeps thinking about the missing 3 points, the missing 3 marks. For many days, that the parent brought her to me. I said, okay, we can talk about the missing 3 points, we can analyze that. Maybe you can visit your teacher and ask them to analyze as well. But if we only do that, if we don't try to relate to your 97 score, 97 points, emotionally we will be off balance. Not just you, but your mom and dad will be also off balance emotionally. This is the beautiful aspect of this Pali chanting that we have. This is the Pali chanting that is preserved in Sri Lanka. I think originates from Sri Lanka and then passed down to the Buddhist tradition, Theravada Buddhist tradition in Southeast Asia, including Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos. I got this from the most venerable Thakur Bunchu Mindful Siaro, Venerable Jnana Samvara, our spiritual guidance here at the old Buddha Vihara. I'd like to recite this one first, then we can recite together, and then I'm going to explain. Vandami Bande Sabang Abarada Kamata Me Bande Maya Kadang Bunyang Samina Anumo tapam samina katam punyam mayam tapam sadhu sadhu mudami manami bhante. I have provided also the English translation. I have divided the short Pali formula into three short paragraphs. The first one is, I pay respect to you. This is cultural greeting. And I ask for your forgiveness for my shortcoming. That's the first one. The second one, please rejoice also in the good work I have done. The third one, also rejoice in the good work of yours. I'm going to explain this in psychological terms. Whenever we make mistake, the negative emotion associated with mistake, shortcoming, any fault that we have is very, very strong. If your computer works perfectly well for 7 hours, but for 1 hour it behaves strangely, you're going to remember that day as the day your computer breaks down, not the day that your computer works perfectly well for 7 hours. 1 and 7, look at the ratio, look at the statistic mathematically, 1 to 7. But you remember only the 1 hour that your computer doesn't work or gives you trouble. Sometimes, I feel very frustrated with my computer because I don't know how to manage it when it goes wrong, when it doesn't listen to my command. I can look at my frustration and I remember only that moment, that struggling moment, not the moment that the computer serves me very well. I can send emails straight away, I can recall all my writing straight away. The computer usually serves me very well. My PhD study was made a lot easier because of the computer. I have had to use the typewriter as when I did my master's degree. I used typewriter. That would be very difficult, would be really hard for me. When I was in Sri Lanka at Magudarama Burmese temple, there was only one small typewriter, and it's in the room of the most venerable rector Sayadaw, Dr. Nandapana Bionsa. He is 2 years senior to me in academic terms, but of course in knowledge and in ability, in spiritual quality, he is many more times ahead of all of us. But in Sri Lanka, he had his master's 2 years before me. So when I did my master's, very often I would go and borrow his typewriter. But he also had a lot of work because he basically did all the work for the Burmese community, for the monastery, for everyone, for the abbot, like that. So when one of my friends who is here today, Venerable Anand, he was in Bangkok. He came to know this program. He collected a donation from people and said to me. So I got maybe a third or fourth, not just second hand, maybe third hand or fourth hand typewriter, the bigger one. And that's how I did my master's, how I compiled my master degrees note and share that with many other people, including the Venerable Sayadaw, who is the rector of Reddy Sanskrit University in Mandalay, Venerable Dr. Pandita Vanabuhamsa today. What I like to say here is that we usually remember the negative things more than the positive one. And this one, you can see, basically, the first paragraph talks about the negative things. The second one, the positive thing in ourselves. And the third one, the positive thing in the person we are speaking to. This shows that, don't attempt to look at negative side of others. Only 3 parts. If we have to look at the negative side in myself and in you, that's only two paragraphs. And the positive thing in me and then in you, another 2 paragraphs or 4 paragraphs. Now here we only have 3 paragraphs. This is to teach us that the one that is missing, to look at the shortcomings of other people. This comes quite naturally, that we don't have to practice. We don't really have to practice. I find in myself, how irritating, the situation can be. So, in terms of spiritual practice, we have to try to manage our shortcomings. That's the first one. Why this is important? Because, in your school years, maybe in your university year, you may have had many good experiences, positive ones. But just as the little girl who missed out, 3 points instead of 100% score, she became obsessed only with the 3 missing marks. The missing side, the missing thing in life, something that is missing, not something that is there in her life. In the same way, this is what usually happens to us. So psychologically, the negative thing is very prominent in us. So we have to confront this. We have to manage this first. We have to manage this. To manage this is not very easy. Usually, if you're trying to point out at my shortcoming, the subconscious reaction is that I become defensive. Why I made this mistake and I become defensive. Why I become defensive? Because I feel insecure. That my position, would be shaken. You would not have the same regard for me as before. You may not have the same esteem as you used to extend to me before. That this would be my subconscious reaction. We feel insecure. Insecure feeling is the all-pervading element, shall we say, element in our psyche. You know, some people, they have about 4,000 or 5,000 arms and guarding them. They still feel very insecure. They feel insecure to speak in front of the people. They feel insecure to walk the street. Very insecure. That insecure feeling is within. Okay. We're trying to cover this insecure feeling up sometimes with good dress, with good clothing, sometimes by acting out in the social circle that we can do just like things just like other people, or maybe better. We can afford just like other people, maybe better, something like that. You know, we have to show that. We have to show that just to feel comfortable living among other people, because we feel insecure. For young people, this is a big problem. You look at young girls, okay, everybody wants to feel slim, and they starve themselves. 2 months ago, I read in the newspaper in England, about 16% of girls under 16 years of age, and they suffer from depression for their look. They feel that they are too overweight. Actually, clinically, they are not, but psychologically, that's how they think. They feel insecure. Looking at a catwalk, a fashion walk, everybody is slim and they have to copy that. This is what we call peer pressure. So, because of this basic psychology of insecurity, insecure feeling, we don't feel that easy, that comfortable, acknowledging our own shortcoming. But without acknowledging our shortcoming, without confronting our shortcoming psychologically, it's not possible to move on. It's not possible. That is why in the Buddhist tradition, this practice has been very important. Venerable Sariputta, one of the chief disciples of the Buddha, as you know, he was an enlightened person, and in terms of intelligence, only second to the Buddha. One day, there was a young novice reminding him that, he was wearing his robe not quite tidy. The rim, the end, the lower end, the two ends, they are not quite tidy. When the young novice pointed out to him like that, he was so grateful. And he said, I wish I had millions of people helping me like this. Now, the way he saw the little one was, okay, he's helping me. He's helping me. The attitude is very important, because although he was already enlightened and only second to the Buddha in command, but his attitude is that he could still make mistakes. He could still make mistakes. And he had this in mind. He bore this in mind. Because of this attitude, when somebody pointed out to him, he was very grateful. And another thing is that he didn't feel particularly insecure in himself. He accepted the imperfect world as it is. He was not looking for perfection anymore. he was not fighting with the imperfect world. So he didn't feel insecure when the young novice pointed out that to him. Sometimes it's not a mistake, sometimes it's just maybe we can call this, we can term this as a failure, or maybe we don't achieve what we set out to do and achieve. Meaning we are shaken by any failure, any unexpected outcome of our action, our effort. When that happens, we can give things up easily, we can give up what we do easily, simply because things don't turn out the way we expect. Remember Edison, who created this electronic bulb, right? In New York, you have one street named after him. He had to do the experiment 10,000 times. 10,000. Not 1,000, 10,000 times. So after he succeeded, a journalist asked him, how come you failed 9,999 times? He said, there wasn't a failure. The success for this project, for creating bulb, has 10,000 steps. I was simply walking through the 10,000 steps. It was not a failure. You see, the attitude is very important. Samadhi in the first factor in the Noble Four part is about right attitude. Right attitude. The Buddha himself, in his search for enlightenment, he experimented many techniques, many well-known techniques and philosophy. And none of them brought him enlightenment. But he didn't see them as a failure. He saw them as part of learning. As a part of learning. Just like what Edison, saw his own. If Edison didn't have that attitude, after a few failures, he would have given up. So it's very important to learn how to manage our shortcoming, our failure, like that. The most important hurdle is psychological hurdle. Psychological hurdle. If you are a very good footballer, if you fail to score in one match, in two matches, in 10 matches, that can damage your confidence. But your attitude is very important to persevere with the practice. Otherwise, you're going to give up very easily, and you are going down from there. So it's a psychological game. It's a psychological exercise. Then how do we accept our shortcomings? What I see is that first, when we have shortcomings, we have to feel compassion towards ourselves. We have to have compassion. Compassion is a positive quality. Out of shortcoming, out of some negative experiences, you bring out positive quality, that is compassion. If you cannot do this, the only alternative is that You're going to feel angry with yourself, frustrated with yourself. You're going to beating yourself up. This is the alternative. So you can choose. We can choose. So in this, Sabbang Aparadham is shortcoming, mistakes, failure, imperfection, anything. That's the fact of life that we have to live with. First is to practice compassion. The second is to have the right attitude. That mistake is not unique to you. Instead, mistake is universal. Mistake of some form occurs to people every day. Every day. That you are not unique and it's not necessary to be defensive. So, in the discourse of blessing, the Buddha actually says that to acknowledge our mistake and to be humble is very important. It's a great blessing. You know, in academic circle, in the university circle, I have spent half of my life, around different universities. When we do research, when we write a research project and research finding, it's very important to highlight what we have achieved, but also important to highlight the limit of our project, our scope, our findings. This is called to highlight our success is called confidence, and this confidence has to be balanced with modesty. So we tell, we write, we record, we express the limit of our work. This is called modesty. Another aspect of modesty is to acknowledge what other people have done before. That's modesty. In terms of confidence and competence, to point out that in our research, there is something that no one has ever done. Yeah? You can see how we balance between confidence and humility, confidence and humbleness. So here, Sabbang Aparadham Kammatha Me Bandit, this is for particularly for this one, to manage our shortcoming. I like to say that I like to make a point that in the world there are more people who like to find fault with others instead of acknowledging their own. But many people who like to show off their achievements instead of highlighting other people's achievement or rejoicing in other people's achievement. When we live in this world full of those kind of people, naturally our insecure feeling is strengthened and validated day by day. But in order to live our full life, to live our life in full, without being distracted by our own shortcoming or other people's shortcoming, we have to learn how to forgive ourselves with compassion and also forgive other people's shortcoming with compassion. So this is the first one. The second one is the second part, Maya Katang Punyang Samina Anumoditapa. For someone who only thinks of his negative point, shortcoming, this person is not confident enough to acknowledge his shortcoming. This person must be balanced in emotion, meaning in the way he looks at himself emotionally, both the positive and negative. The second one You see, in order for you to be strong enough, to come forth with your shortcoming, to acknowledge your shortcoming, you also need to connect with your good points, with your achievements. You need to appreciate the good thing that you have in your life. So the second one, Maya Katang Punyan Samina Anumoti Tapang. Please rejoice also in the good work I have done. This is very balanced. If you don't do mudita meditation, if you do not rejoice in the good thing that you do, when it comes to acknowledging your shortcoming, you're going to may find it very difficult to actually acknowledge anything negative about yourself, about your work. That is why mudita meditation, or the psychology exercise, the mindful exercise, to rejoice in our success in school, in society, in the family, is very important. If we cannot rejoice and appreciate, be proud of the good thing that we have done, forget about doing this for other people, forget about rejoicing and appreciating other people's work. If you do, you will be able to do this only for a short while, and it wouldn't have psychological impact on you, meaning it wouldn't be able to transform you psychologically. Why? Because you cannot connect with your own successes. I found it quite often in Europe. Europeans in whom, I have spent 20 years in England. Mainly I'm speaking about my experiences in Britain. People find it easy to think about, to think about good things, to think about other people whose good work. But when it comes to congratulating themselves, they find it difficult. They can't do that. Many people can't do that. What happened, if that's the case, what happened is that your appreciation of other people's work lasts only briefly. And when it comes to the time that you have to analyze their work, you're going to get stuck in negative reactions, negative emotions. As we know, in psychology, there is short memory, there is also long-term memory, short-term and long-term. This is the first publication on short-term and long-term memory was done in 1968 by two prominent psychologists in America, Professor Richard Atkinson from Stanford University, who later became the head of California University, and his collaborator in this breakthrough research was Professor Richard Shefflin from Indiana University. Very interesting what they have found. The short memory means our short memory can only hold some information very briefly. The new information comes in and pushes the early information out, so you can't retain information. This is psychologically what has been proven. For the long-term memory, this is something that you practice again and again, meaning sometimes unconscious practice. You revisit the information again and again. something like Buddhist monks learn by heart. Not just one text, many texts, many books, because they just keep repeating the same text again and again, again and again. So if you repeat that particular information and associated emotion goes into your long-term memory. And what is amazing in that finding is that the long-term memory has no limit. It's limitless. You can put as many as possible in your long-term memory. You just need to revisit them again and again. The Buddha also said, if we think about the good thing again and again, and the wholesome thing, the wholesome thought, the wholesome emotion, they will go into our long-term memory. And that will change not just our conscious mind, but also subconscious mind. It will change the behavior of our emotion, the behavior of our thinking. From behavioral change, it will change our character. From the change of character, it will change our personality. You see, the changes take place in psychology in 3 steps: behavior, and then character, and then psychology, personality. We call that transformation. So when we try to transform irritation or negative feeling associated with our shortcoming into compassion, we have to do this again and again, again and again. Then at some point, at later point, when the transformation starts taking place, taking effect, it doesn't matter what kind of shortcoming we have. We will not be beating ourselves up. We will not be blaming ourselves. Instead, we can accept our shortcoming easily and then move on. Our heart is light, and we not get stuck in the past. This is very important. So number 1 and number 2, they are balancing each other. Number 1 paragraph, Sabang Abharadam Kamatame Bandi. This one manages the negative side of our action, our thought, our speech. The second one relates to the positive side of our thought, our action, our speech, our emotion. But again, look at the third paragraph, which is also very important. If you just focus on yourself all the time, your negative thing, your positive thing, if you just focus on that and never on other people, then what happens is that, you're going to be full of yourself. You're going to be full of yourself. You just want to talk about yourself. You are disconnected with your surrounding, with what is happening in the family, with the society, with the world. You're going to be disconnected with them. You are a totally disconnected person. If you're a disconnected with person, it's like a tree which has with its root not firmly rooted in the soil. You are easily shaken again by any negative and positive thing. So it's very important to expand our contemplation about the good thing, about the positive thing in other people. So if I am going to apologize to someone, what I have to do is first I look at my shortcoming, I acknowledge that myself, then I have to balance that. I'm thinking about the good thing. I have made this mistake, and I also have done many good things. By doing that, my emotion is balanced, my thinking is balanced. But this is not enough. I need to think of the good thing about the person I'm going to apologize to. that person, his or her contribution to the society or to their own life, if I can see that positive thing, then apology comes easily and forgiveness also comes easily. So this is a very profound psychological transformation that we have in the Buddhist tradition. We use this in Pali, of course in Burmese people say AwKarTha, AwKarTha, Kayakan, Pusikan, and Hokan, Dyuto. In the Burmese tradition, it doesn't matter how many versions you have. For example, Mahasi has one version, the Rakai has one version, and there are many other versions. Sometimes, when people are off guard, without mindfulness, they even quarrel that their version is better than other people's version. Actually, what AwKarTha in the Burmese tradition says is that Shikobuso Pumyo Mansho. Mansho means, you're going to humble yourself. You're going to humble yourself. In doing that, how do you do that? How do you do that? By acknowledging your mistake. Meaning, if I have made any mistake, you have any shortcoming, I accept them, please accept those mistakes, those of my mistake. You say this. But in saying that, you do that because you have compassion for yourself. You can say that only when you are connected with your own good thing, with your own wholesome thing, with your own successes, which is in the second paragraph of our formula in Pali. And also when you can see the positive thing in the other person. So in Myanmar, usually people say that to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha is a kind of impersonal. But it would be very good if people can say that personally to each other. Usually people do during the New Year Day and that sort of thing. For Buddhist monks, we have to extend the invitation to the whole members of the monastic community to point out any shortcoming that we have. This is called Pavarana, and we do this at the end of the 3 months rain retreat. Pavarana. Without this one, the Buddha said you cannot have Katina robe. Without having Katina robe, you cannot enjoy the privileges that come with that. That is the relaxation of 5 rules in the Vinaya. So, although this is a psychological issue, but it has a lot of impact on social relationship and community relationship. That is why the Buddha sometimes relates this issue to social function, to community function. In the Katina robe, you remember that the talk that I have given at the Oxford Buddha Vihara, Singapore, Katina this year. The monks, they have to rejoice in the fact that one particular monk has got a new robe. Many of them don't get that, just one of them got that. And that one, you have to deal with your negative emotion and positive emotion. Negative emotion is you feel upset that you don't get it. You feel left out, because you don't get it. You can even feel jealous. So for that one, we need to manage our own negative emotion. The positive emotion is to rejoice in the good work that when you participate in community work, in your practice, in who you are, to rejoice in that. So if you can do both karuna and mudita, that is compassion for yourself and then rejoicing, appreciating at your own good point, you will be able to manshok means lower your pride. The literal translation, lower your pride. You will be able to lower your pride. Without lowering your pride, you cannot live with other people in harmony in the society. So with this, we are going to say the stanza together again, 3 times this time. One time Bhante Sabang Abadata Amatame Bhante Maya Kadang Punyang Samina Anupodhitapan Samina Kadang Punyang Maya Kadang Sadhu Anumodami Vandami Sabang Avadang Kamata Me Kopu Yaya Kadang Punyang Samina Anupodhitapan Samina Kadang Punyang Maya Kadang Sadhu Sadhu Anumodami Vandami Bhante Sabang Avadata Kamata Me Bhante Maya Kadang Punyang Samina Anumodhitapan Samina Kadang Punyang Maya Kadang Sadhu Anumodami Vandami Sabhitiyo Vivachantu Sokoroko Vinasatu Mati Bhavan Tvantaraya Sukhitika Yuko Bhava Abhivadana Silisani Chamutta Pachayino Chattaro Dhamma Vattantu Ayu Vanno Sukhang Bhadan. As we do it every week, we do meditation. Even 5 minutes, we can do it for 5 minutes. One thing, just think of the shortcoming that you have, and then just follow this stanza, meditate on this stanza. Number 1, acknowledge your own shortcoming with compassion. And the second step is to think about the good thing that you have done and rejoice in that, be proud of that. The third one is to think about the good thing in other people, in someone. Okay, we do this for 5 minutes. Kusumiti hai mi hai nam AwKarTha jai sampani hai sen kam jang sen jang lom hai sen pi sen san sen chat sen kon vinya sakawa hai sai jawali an sai jawali dan sen ken to om som som sadhu anumodana đại hát cu sổ quan lý thiền thiền san sen sen các khang người la mô sadhu 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 cu sổ không thi thiền hai mi đà mi nam AwKarTha đại sang tà ni ma đại sang tam ma tăng
Sen Tam Long Mai Sen Di Sen San Sen Sa Sen Con Viya Sakawa Nai Sai Jawali Ananta Sai Jawali Tam Sen Kyan To Om Chung Chung Sadhu Anumodana Đại ác cu số quan lý tình tình cảm sinh sinh sát cảm đối đa nô sa du sa du sa du su ni đi nai ni ya ni nam ao khai ta lời sáng và mi ma lại chân tâm ta tăng sen tăng long mai thêm đi thêm sang thêm sát thêm con quên ra sát la wa mai sát cha wa ye ananta sát cha wa ye tăng sen thêm to om trong trong sa du anumodana đại ác cu số quan lý phiền phiền khăn sen sen sát cảm đời ta nó sa du sa du sa du ta na ya si lan ya ta na ya thao sâu ca tăng sen tăng long ya cho hai phim an lại con hiểm an lại sát hoa hiểm an lại yon phạt tăng vai Nai ma vô trái hao kha trô ta hoa thiyo sơ sa a ma ta ni pa na thi ca yen sa cam bệ ta no sa du sa du sa du cu tu anya 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 Buddha Bha Công Nó Kudu Anya 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 Yudong Buddha Bha Công Nó Kudu Anya 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 Yudong Buddha Bha Công Nó